Okay, so I'm back. Looks like we might have had some type of technical difficulty. Hopefully, nothing too serious. It seems to be working at the moment. So, yeah. Okay. So far, so good. It looks like we're working okay. Um, we're back. All good. Yeah. For some reason, something happened with the camera. It uh, came up with a message saying that the that the camera was being used by another application. So yeah, hopefully nothing too serious. I think I might need to tweak them a little bit. Um, I'll say hopefully not a hacker. I don't want that happening. But where was I? Um, Trying to think. What was the last thing? To say your hat was the problem, mate. The hat is never the problem. um, okay, so I'm just trying to think. What were we talking about before this ended? Total mental loss at the moment. Okay, so so at the moment, oh, that's right, Australian. I was talking about the price of Australian whiskies. Uh, yeah, so yeah, again, even in Australia, the price of Australian whiskies are not cheap either. I mean, you would think that. Um, Again, I reject mind control. Um, uh, I'll have to start adding tin foil into the hat. That's right. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, even with Starwood, I mean, Starwood whiskey again. It's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, at the moment, that's kind of biased since it's the only Australian whiskey that I've had at the moment. But again, even that's not cheap. I mean, that's something that's produced here, and say the average bottle of Starwood goes from about $80 to $90. Um, Again, not cheap. That's something that I would probably buy only every now and then. So if I run out of a bottle, it's not going to be something that I'm going to rush off to buy straight away again. Um, but I'll definitely be looking out for when it goes on sale, or if I'm ever able to get it for a cheaper price. And then if you look at other distilleries, for example, ones like Sullivan's Cove, which is probably one of the most well-known Australian whiskies, that the prices of those are just ridiculous. You're looking at well over. Um, all right, Mark. See you later, mate. Uh, it's great to see you here, and we'll catch you on the next chat. Yeah, even say the price of Sullivan's Cove, for example, goes from say $100 and up. I mean, I think the average price of Sullivan Cove that I've seen so far has probably been about $120 to $150, and I think that's even just for their standard release. So again, not cheap. The same goes for lime burners. Again, another expensive whiskey. Now, the crazy thing is, I've noticed that when I had gone to America and when I was in Japan, I had come across Australian wines, and they were cheaper overseas than what they were to buy them in Australia. I mean, I think that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you've got a product that's being made in Australia, and we have to pay more for it than what the overseas market does. I think that's just absolutely crazy. I guess then we've also got the other aspect of things. I mean, then you don't just have your basic retail prices. Then there's the secondary market, and that's just a whole different ball game altogether. I was just having a quick look on eBay before starting the chat, and I couldn't believe the prices already. Say for the Lagavulin 9 of the Game of Thrones edition, mate. Some of those were going for almost $200 for the bottle. Most of them were averaging about, I think it was 170, not including shipping. Those that included shipping were going for about 200. So, mate, those prices are ridiculous. Even the long branch, I mean, averaging that on eBay, that was still going for about 62, 65, which is pretty much the same as regular retail price. But then there was one that I had seen on there that was going for $90. And I mean, I would not spend $90 on the long branch. As much as I love it, that's a lot of money to spend. So, yeah, definitely not something that I'm going to buy on the secondary market. I even had a look at uh, that's another valid point there as well, Matthias. I even had a look at the price of the Lefroy 10-year-old, and as I mentioned, the Lefroy 10 goes for about $90 on average here in Sydney. Some prices on eBay were going for about 150, about 120, 150. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, I remember even seeing this other website not that long ago. And to be honest, I'm not sure if there was like a glitch in their system or if that's what they're actually charging. Uh, but yeah, Lefroy, they were having Lefroy 10 for about $300 on the website. I think, what the hell is this crap? Who the hell would spend $300 for Lefroy 10? I mean, for one, that bottle would have to be at least, say, 50 years old for one, extremely rare cask strength, before I would even consider paying that. Before I would even consider paying that type of money. But as far as I could see, that was only going for about that was only advertising the regular Lefroy 10. I think that was there has to be a bug in their system. I'm thinking there's no way they could be trying to sell Lefroy 10 for that much, and I'm fairly certain that there's nobody in their right mind uh, that would buy Lefroy 10 for that type of money. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Jay, you're saying you disappeared. No worries, mate. Your little son there, but he takes priority over everything, mate. If you have to go at any time to tend to him, that's what you've got to do, mate. Um, yeah. Uh, I don't know. Say, have you guys ever spent? I'll put a question out for you guys in the chat. Have you say ever spent what you would have considered generally a ridiculous amount for a whiskey that you know you can get cheaper, or would you just steer clear of those secondary prices altogether? Because I just don't understand how they justify those. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, another one that I had a look at. This was probably going back about a year ago now. Back when, or say like the Hibiki, the Japanese whiskey. So your Hibiki, Hakushu, Yamazaki, when all their age statements were going absolutely mental. I remember when I first when I had first seen the bottle of Hibiki 12 in Australia, that was going for a reasonable price. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I remember being happy enough to pay what it came out as. And then pretty much without a month of it going up, so within about a month of that whiskey being out, the price jumps to about 50% more, where the average spend, say, for about a bottle of Hibiki 12 in Australia was probably going for about $150. At some prices I had, or even some places I had even seen bottles of Yamazaki 18-year-old going for about $1,000 Australian, when in Japan you could get them um, for about 200 Australian. That's even with the conversion, getting the conversion done from yen to Australian dollars. That's the same as well with the uh, I'm losing my the Hibiki 21-year-old. That was going for about, in Japan at the time, that was going for about 30,000. No, sorry, not 30,000. That was going for about 150,000 yen. What am I talking about? Not 150,000. About 15,000 yen, which roughly equated to about 150 Australian dollars at the time. Uh, like, I would say that's reasonable, but in Australia, we were paying almost $1,000 for Hibiki 25 if you could find it, and that's what they were just, and that was in the retail stores. Having a look online, the prices were up even more, and you could tell obviously that the retailers were just trying to match. Were just trying to match those secondary prices, really, just because they can. Uh, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so what's going on in the chat at the moment? Alan, you're saying the guys buying on secondary are not drinkers, it's just business. Look, that's true. I'm sure a lot of them are, but I would like to think that there are some people as well out there that are probably trying to find whiskies that they really enjoy, that are probably considered hard to find, and that they are buying them to drink. I mean, I would like to think that. I'm sure there are still quite a lot of people out there that will pay those secondary prices to drink whiskey. But again, you're right. I'm sure the majority, probably a good 3/4 of them, are just trying to sell them at a higher price. So, as you mentioned, man, it's business, and business is business. Money needs to be made. Chris, you're also saying, I think Japanese age statement bottles are pretty pricey everywhere now, due to a shortage. Yeah, mate, you're 100% right. I know for a fact that Yamazaki and Hakushu, even Hibiki, due to the high demand that they had, pretty much all their stock was wiped out of age statement whiskies anyway. So they had to stop the selling of those age statements whiskies and focus only on NAS until they are able to replenish their stock. So even for that, I'm assuming we're going to be waiting at least another 10 years uh, before we'll probably start to see some of those age statement whiskies, especially for the Japanese whiskies, returning. And the other problem now will be, are they going to be as good as what they were? I mean, obviously before they would have been using a lot of their older stock to blend in for their whiskies. How much of that stock they have left available, I mean, I don't know, but I'm fairly certain they've probably used a good portion of it. So I guess the average age of the whiskies that will be going into the newer bottles are going to be a lot younger than what the original ones were. Uh, Alan, you're saying if you want hard to find to drink the market. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. I guess obviously the harder something is to find, the more the price is going to go up. Um, I guess what it comes down to is whatever anybody's willing to pay for something. So, I guess if you're willing to pay a certain price for something, well then hey, go for it. Mate, I think for now, I think I've gone on about this topic for a bit too long. I might leave it at that for now. Might even just give you a bit of nosing notes on, or a bit of tasting on this. Um, Make it a bit more lighthearted. I feel I've been a bit too serious. So let's just take it back a notch, chill out a bit, and I'll let you know what I've got. So if you're not too sure, I poured myself a glass of the Lagavulin 9. That's of the Game of Thrones edition. This is actually bottled at 46%, so that's always a good thing. Um, this has been a very enjoyable whiskey. I guess, guys, if you haven't had a chance to try the Lagavulin 9 yet, I highly suggest that you do if you are able to. On the nose, uh, it's a slightly different to your regular Lagavulin 16 or even the 8-year-old. I find this is a bit more mild. It is still very peaty, but it's sweeter. This is surprisingly sweet, very salty. I'm also getting a faint hint of of barbecue charcoal, but barbecue charcoal when it's actually been put out by water. So when you if you've got those, I guess we call them heat beads here. I don't know what you might call them in say in the UK or even in Europe, but they're kind of like little blocks of coal. Then say pretty much if you don't want to let them burn out after you finish cooking, if you spray water on them with the hose after to put them out, you get this like this really wet, steamy, almost like the smell of like the rain on a hot day, like when it's hitting the road, but a much more subdued version of that on the palate. Very peaty, slightly smoky, nowhere near as smoky as what the 12-year-old is. Um, I am getting again, those iodine notes are coming through, so that that nice saltiness. A faint seaweed note is coming through. Yeah, and again that charcoal note as well coming through. Yeah, that Lagavulin 9, that's a really nice drop. That is, as I mentioned before, if you guys are able to get your hands on it for a decent price, I wouldn't pay too much for it. Definitely don't buy it on the secondary market. That's for sure. If you're able to buy it in store from a retailer, definitely pick up a bottle. If not, then maybe see if you can maybe see if you can bludge a dram from someone. See if you can mooch yourself a glass. Oh, actually, one thing that I remembered as well, Matthias, if you're still in the chat, I recently had a quick look into whether I would be able to post alcohol to you for your Talisker project. Unfortunately, at the moment, it doesn't look like I can. Um, I think for some strange reason, I might be able to send over wine. Um, but spirits, unfortunately, I don't think I'm able to send. I mean, I'm going to try and look into it further. Um, but yeah, I would definitely love to be a part of your project. 'Cause I would. So I was trying to. Um, yeah, I was wanting to add in the Talisker 18 and also the Talisker Storm. I have those at home. I was wanting to send you the samples of those to add into your. Um, I was hoping to add those into your collection, but it doesn't seem like I'll be able to label it beard oil. I can give it a go, but at the same time, I'm also feeling a bit uncertain about lying on a customs form. I know, knowing my luck, it will come back to me, and for somehow I'll end up in a federal institution. Oh, imagine trying to do these live streams from a cell. I don't think that would go too well. Okay, all right, guys. I think I've rambled on enough for now. You guys are probably getting sick of me, so I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for joining me on this chat. I had a great time with you, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves as well. And I'll say until next time, kirpis.